Hi. So, entrepreneurship is defined as the activity of setting up a business, taking on financial risk in the hope of profit, right? Today, we are talking to one of our good friends, a good friend and entrepreneur, who will be sharing a bit about her own journey into entrepreneurship, what it has been like, what are the lessons she has learned, and what wishes she knew before she started a business. So if you're an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, then you don't want to miss this. This one is for you. If you know others who are in that boat as well, just have them join now, share the link, get persons on, because this will be good. So, welcome again. My name is Renee. I'm co founder of Learn, Grow, Invest, and I am your host for this evening. If you are new here, if it is your first time joining us, and if you're not familiar with Learn, Grow, Invest, we are an online investment community that is focused on building the individual and ultimately building our nation. We believe in financial literacy, we believe in financial education for all, and we believe in growth, personal growth, spiritual growth, development on a whole. And we believe that investment is one of the ways that we can help build the individual and our nation. We're founded on Deuteronomy 8:18, which says, "Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth." And with that, we just want to welcome and acknowledge the presence of the Lord here with us this evening. So let us pray. Father, we give you thanks for this time. We give you thanks, Lord God, for this community. And we pray that you will continue to hold us together, Lord, that your hand of blessing will be outreach and outstretched to each and every person who is a part of this community, that you will continue to build us up, Lord God. Help us to continue to yearn for knowledge, to learn more, to grow more, to invest more, and to truly represent you and to build up your kingdom on earth. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. So, guys, our guest today, our guest today is a good friend, and she is one of the most honest, straightforward, sharpshooting woman of God in my life. She is someone who is a self-proclaimed trying youth. For our international audience, that just means that she never gives up. She continues pursuing her goals at no matter what comes her way. She continues to press ahead. She continues to move forward, and it is something that is so inspiring for me and for many others around her. So with that, I would like to introduce and ask you to help me to welcome Miss Shani Reed. Hey, Shani.
Hi. Good night, everyone. Hi. Thank you, Renee, for such a wonderful, um, if not embellished introduction.
No
I'm so happy
embellishments
to.
here.
I'm so happy to be here. Hi,
Woo.
everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so we decided to have this conversation today because there are so many persons now who are interested in entrepreneurship. We're looking towards it. There are a lot of persons who are discovering their hidden talents and their creativity and just their desire for more than what we have been cultured to want, the 9 to 5 and white picket fence and 2.5 children kind of thing, right? So persons are persons are exploring a little bit more of who they are and what they're able to offer to others. And so we wanted to take this opportunity for Shani, who we're so grateful for her agreeing to share her story. But we wanted her to come on tonight and just share with the community what her journey has been like and share some lessons that she has learned. So let's start with when And why did you decide to pursue entrepreneurship?
Okay, so when my first ever entry into entrepreneurship was in 2008. Yeah, because I moved back to Jamaica 2008. So 2008. Um, so what happened was I used to live in London, and um, I at the time had very uh, embellished, a very large chest. I've always had it my entire life, and it was just very hard to find supportive undergarments that would help. You know, your back hurts you, they're ugly, they make shopping. The undergarments themselves, because they're not, what do you call them, available in styles or even sizes that you need, also make dressing yourself difficult. But when I moved to London, and they were extremely expensive, like ridiculously, maybe 3 4 times the price of
Sure.
smaller undergarments, smaller bras. So when I moved to London, that wasn't the case. Every single style that came in an A cup, came in a K cup, came in a Y cup, came in every single style. And it wasn't, the price was the same, maybe £1 difference, if I can think of it. And I actually think England has a law that says you can't charge more for larger sized clothing than you do for smaller size clothing. So when I came back, oh, and then the best part is I actually worked at a large retailer. So then I had that plus my employee discount. Like I kind of had a fun time. So when I came back, obviously that wasn't there anymore. And one day my best friend, she said to me, she's like, why you don't do your bra thing? Why you don't try it? So in true shiny fashion, I was like, sure. And like I bought some bras the next day. I was like, I bought like 10. This was like at the start of Facebook. There wasn't even a platform for selling online or anything like that. People were just still posting their statuses. Facebook was still doing that thing where it has is, like shiny is, when you
Mhm.
type right. So I bought like 10 or 15. And I just advertised them on Facebook. I actually didn't know anything about fitting, or I just bought pretty bras because I like pretty things. And they sold. And so I bought some more. And then through Shiny Fashion, I want to be I like to operate from a place of knowledge. Renee will tell you that. I like to know what I'm talking about so that when I argue, because that's really just the point, that when I'm ready to argue, I am arguing from a place of fact. And so oh no, actually, before I got there, before I got to training, my cousin had a retail business. And she said to me, you're buying retail to sell back retail. And I said, yeah, I buy during the sales. And she's like, no, you're not going to make any money that way. You need to find wholesalers and you need to go to trade shows. So I think that same day, because shiny behavior, or the next day, I searched and found some wholesalers. And they had all the British brands that I was bringing in by retail. And they had like this order minimum, and that was like so much money. But then I found one that had a reasonable order minimum. Or did I probably negotiated it a little bit, but it was reasonable enough that I could meet it. And so I started buying from that wholesaler. A little bit of retail mixed in so I could get a little variety, but I started buying from that wholesaler. Um, I called the business passion fruits because I used to work at an advertising agency. And to be very honest, we were at lunch one day and men were just discussing the different names that they have, the different fruit names that they have for breasts.
Wow.
And it just came to me that I'll call it passion fruits. I don't even know. Oh, right, because passion fruit is actually a fruit, right? And because I was like, where the word passion came from again, right? But really, that was it. But we're just all sitting down around the lunchroom, and they were just talking, and I was like, oh, passion fruits, that's cute. Um, right. So we had the name and everything, and so the wholesaler then said that they'd offer training. You'd have to come to Miami, but they'd offer training. So I was like, I'm definitely going, because now I really want to know how I can measure women effectively, how I can, because the truth is, a good bra fitter doesn't need a tape measure. They can look at you and kind of size up because the tape measure helps, but it, let me just wait until the right. The tape measure helps. Oh, I can hear it, and I think everybody can hear it. The tape measure helps, but the tape measure is really psychological for the customer because sometimes when you just look at them and go, 32A, they're like, what? Anyway, so I got the training and I came back. And, the business just kind of, people started to tell people. I want to mention that I did this out of my house. I was actually living at home with my parents and I just did it out of my house. Um, so that was the first time I did passion fruits and I did it for a little bit. And then I moved to Mobile and I didn't do it for that entire time. In November of 2010, I was like, I do the business again, but I need some kind of support. And I was like, well, you are in marketing, you know people. No, it wasn't even that. I think with passion fruits, I took up the Flair one day and they featured somebody and I was like, I'm all right then. Why them can't feature me too? Yeah, this was when I was much younger and didn't really understand obstacles. So I wrote them and I explained what my business was and everything. And they said, sure, we'd love to cover it. And they did a photo shoot. They came to my house, they did a photo shoot and everything. And they published it. And people contacted us because we still had Facebook. And then, so I want to be clear that, remember, this is 2010. There's some Instagram, there's no anything else. And the algorithm at Facebook was everything you posted, everybody saw. I wouldn't even know how to manipulate that algorithm now at this point in my life.
Right.
So it just kind of went from there. And then once we did the Flair stuff, then I went back to Flair and I said, or did we get Smile Jamaica? Like Smile Jamaica kind of, no. I had a friend that worked in media. And then she got me an interview on this the Alan Magnus and Paula have a show in the morning, and I did that. When we did that, the day after that, is this what you're asking me to tell you? Because I feel like I'm telling you everything that happened in my life, and I feel like that's not what you asked me.
No,
Anyways,
it's fine because I'm actually taking notes of the points that are actually that are coming out from the story already.
Great.
So when you're done,
right. So then after that, Smile Jamaica called and said they heard the interview on the radio. Would I come? I was like, yeah, of course I'd come. And if you know, Smile Jamaica interviews, they're very expensive. So if they invite you, it's really a good opportunity. After the Smile Jamaica interview, like the same day we sold out. Like the same day. It was ridiculous. I didn't even have stock for people. So I actually learned a very valuable lesson from there that I'm not going to, you don't, especially with retail products, you don't go on TV unless you have stock. Because it's a very, Smile Jamaica's midweek shows have over 1 million in viewership. Yeah, the morning shows. So when you think about it, I mean, literally before we even walked out of the station, people were calling them to get in contact with us. So it was something I learned for the second time I did it, that make sure you have stock before you go, or at least you stock coming soon. Anyways, back to Renee's question, why? Because I just wanted to help people. I really suffered with how my breasts were when I was younger. Like suffered. It was awful. And there was a whole literal other side of the world that didn't have that level of suffering.
Yeah.
That didn't have that level of suffering in terms of you what do you call that? Self-esteem, in terms of your insecurity, in terms of you want to look nice. You want to, a lot of women would come to me and they would be so ashamed that their partners or their husbands, they just don't know how to feel like confident.
Yeah.
And then the people that really, you had young women, you had little girls that were like me that started maturing when they were 8. So I understand when they come into my store and they are in tears, or they don't think I can help. And I remember like women would look at me and see that I had a large chest and be like, well, she must understand. And it would be so hard because some, especially the younger women, their mothers would come, and mothers can be very critical. And it just used to upset me. And I had a way that I could help. I literally can help you. Like, all I have to do is buy these things and I can help you.
And make them
Um,
available.
and make it available
Yeah.
as easily as I can. And that's just the only reason why I just thought I just thought I could help.
Yeah, and I think that's a common theme with a lot of entrepreneurs. It's a desire to help. You have a passion for the thing that you're doing, but you also want to share that with others. So the points that I want persons not to miss
Thank
from what
you.
you have shared so far, and that's your first entrepreneurship experience. That's your first
Yes.
journey, right? So I want persons to know this. One, it's important to act on your own experience. You have something in you that you are going through now, something that you have gone through in the past, something that you're familiar with, something that you know, and something that you are able to provide for others, or something that you know there's a need for, there's a market for. Do the research, do the market research. Does it make sense for you to pursue it? But start with what you know. Do you have a talent that is marketable? Do you have a skill? Do you have a product that you think, like Shani would have gone through the challenges in her own life to say, boy, I suffered from not having these things available to me. I'm able to now make these available for others. And she transitioned from just fulfilling her need to fulfilling the needs of others, right? Second thing, get advice and tips from others in the business, or it doesn't even have to be the same business that you're in, but listen to others who are in business, who are entrepreneurs, and get that feedback, get that advice. Shani said shani said it was your aunt, right?
My
Who
cousin, because she had
your
a hair care business, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Like, and I was
exactly
like,
different
"Well, where
business.
else am I to get the teams?" Because I thought I was being smart. Like, I buy on sale, and she's like, "No, you can get way more and make more money and stuff."
Exactly. So get the tips, listen to the advice of others who are in business. And thirdly, be bold. Don't be afraid to go out and ask to be made visible. That that point about writing or calling Flair and saying, come feature me. This is what I do. I can be featured for you. And you heard her share how that opened another door for Smile Jamaica, who has the 1 million viewership one during the week. So don't be afraid to step out in in line with the purpose that you are pursuing, and put yourself out there. Put yourself out there. All right. So the next thing, so you would have shared about your first business venture and that experience, what it was like, right? What's the last business venture that you undertook, and what was that experience? What was different this time around?
Nothing. I'm laughing because there are a lot of things that were the same in the sense that I didn't really think it through, and I just kind of said, okay. So my second business venture, did I do something else in between? I feel like I did have a small hustle somewhere in the middle of this, but all right.
You
Oh,
probably
no,
did.
no, no. It wasn't a business. It wasn't a business because I always have like a little hustle somewhere else, but it really wasn't a business for true. Right, 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 right. Anyways, so Hourglass now. So Hourglass is my latest or last business venture. So, all right. So the thing with Hourglass, I don't think Hourglass has ever become what it should be. And so one of the things that I would like to say is you have to be very clear about what your offer is. And I will be the first to admit that I don't think I'm clear about what that offer is. Um, so Hourglass is my project management company. No, part of the reason why I'm not clear about it, or it's not that it's clear, it's that it just kept changing and evolving. And I have a personality hybrid flaw. So it's a hybrid because it helps me sometimes, and sometimes it holds me back. Where if I think that this is the vision, it's very hard sometimes for me to accept and shift, and I just don't know how to see it in the other way. It's hard for me. It just truly is. So what happened was I didn't even see Hourglass like a business. I am very good at organizing things and administration and helping people. I can make things happen.
I smile because I smile because Shani is the friend who is like, don't ask me to plan anything. Tell me what you need and I'll get it done.
Exactly, because I'm not planning the events. I'm never well by accident, but I'm never planning it. But if you said to me, boy, Shani, I need a clown to jump out of an airplane and land on top of Pegasus at 5 o'clock. And I, I will humbly say, I literally have the ability to go, no man, come and know somebody with a clown and give me 2 minutes. And I'll come back and be like, all right, the clown will be there at 5 o'clock, $5,000, send it to X. I never saw that as a business. I never saw it as anything. I had a boss. I wasn't even her executive assistant. But I just found that my work life was better when I managed her life. Um, I like freedom in my job. So it was just easier if she had the support that she needed. And a lot of it was just by default. I liked her. And if I like if I like you, I'm going to make your life easy. It's just my thing. So if she come in Jamaica, it got to the point where like her family would call me and be like, is she here yet? So I would just know, all right, she come in Jamaica, I'd stop. I remember one day she was pregnant. And she never said anything to me. And I was picking her up from the airport and she came in and I was like, what's your breakfast here? And she's like, how the hell did you know I was starving? And I said, I don't know, but I just figure say you need some food. So, based on the time that you're flying, and I would just organize things. And one day she just turned to me and she said, like, should I say, I don't even check in yet. And I was like, what? And I sent her, I was like, I did this like hours ago. And she's like, Shani, you need to find a way to monetize this. And I was like, monetize what? I really didn't understand what she meant. And she told me that in maybe 2015. And I remember I went home the night and me and my best friend, we find the name Hourglass. Like we just, because I have to do it now. But I didn't do anything with it. Like I remember I bought a domain because Shani, I had a Gmail account that I use right now for my Amazon packages. But I just had it there because I really didn't know how to monetize it. And after I had a job in 2017 and about 2018, my contract ended and we did a renewal. And I was just like, maybe I should try with Hourglass, like a little bit before. But I wasn't really doing anything. I was just still doing projects. Like I had a project at this company, and then somebody else would come and be like, oh, can you help me with this? But it wasn't really anything official.
Right.
Then in January of 2019, so this is where the disaster strikes now. So in January of 2019, it's a whole disaster. I accept this new job and I start January 7th. And the short version of that is by January 11, I was back home in my couch. It wasn't going to work. Now, the challenge with that is I've never left a job before. Like me, I left my money. I will tough it out and wait at least till you get paid at the end of the month or something. And it just wasn't tenable. So I'm home on my couch. This is a Thursday. So I start the job the Monday. I resigned the Thursday. I'm home on my couch. And I had just bought a brand new car. Like this was going to be like that year. Like we'll pick up the car the Friday, new job start the Monday. Oh, you mean my friend? Yeah, no. So by the following Friday, I was like, how the hell am I going to pay for this? Like, you see, you got to take up yourself, get it free and clear, your other car, the pay off. But no, to be fair, I was led to buy, I honestly needed a new car. But that aside, even if you didn't already, the point is I still had these responsibilities now, and I didn't know what to do. So I had a friend that was trying to get in touch with me, and she said, I have this project that I think you'd be good at. And she's like, can you meet me on Monday? And I did. And then I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just try Hourglass full time.
Mm-hmm.
No, the thing is, Hourglass was never meant to be corporate. And the difference between Hourglass and passion fruits is I did these, what do you call them, like market research, but like survey monkey, like these, I'm sure I sent Renee these, do you remember I did those interviews, and I asked people, what do you need, and they said that they needed a lot of help with housekeeping, they needed help with shopping, with supermarkets. Those were the things that they needed. And so how Hourglass started initially was we did housekeeping for people, because that was what, like, we surveyed 50 people, and that's what they said they needed. The corporate thing was just there because my friend asked me. I was trying to do this concierge, right? Because it was called the Hourglass Concierge. It wasn't called Hourglass Projects at first. And it was supposed to be this concierge service where anything that you ask of me, we would get done. So the whole point of Hourglass is, even in the corporate side of it, is you don't have to do anything. You show up and everything is done for you. So it's kind of like, you tell me what you want, I tell you how much it costs, and you don't ever need to speak to anybody again until the day off. So you don't have to do, if you're doing a birthday party, you're doing a birthday party for your kids, you don't need to speak to 10 different vendors, because nobody wants to do that. Because I knew Hourglass would work because I am the quintessential Hourglass customer. I want to write one check. I want to talk to one person, and I don't want to have any more conversations. And I want to show up, pay my money, and leave. I don't want to think about cleanup, nothing.
Right.
However, it just didn't work out that way. People liked the idea of. Am I still answering your question, or have I very?
Yes.
Okay.
You're fine. You're telling us about
right. People liked the idea of having the housekeepers, because what we did is we would bring the housekeeper plus equipment. So I'd walk with, like, I bought a vacuum, I bought a steamer, I bought buckets, I found the chemical store, and I found housekeepers. I had a rotation, and people liked it, but they didn't want to pay for it, and it's very expensive. And we actually came in way on the market. But so people like the idea that they wouldn't have to do anything, but then they wouldn't pay for it. So what by the time, and then I wanted to be a fair employer. So I was paying my girls the way I would pay my private helper, which I don't have a problem with, but I should have charged more to the end user so that I could pay them. Like, I remember one day my mother was like, let me understand what you're doing. So you pay this much, plus pick them up, plus provide lunch. So how much money you take home when you're done? And really, sometimes it's $500 by the time I pay out all of the things. And so it just wasn't viable. Like, we used to do gardening, and we whatever you would ask. We had shopping customers and everything, but it just wasn't working.
So I think that's a good segue into the next part of the discussion as to what were your main lessons learned from those experiences from the two.
Right. So I like the fact that I did the market research before. I will say that I think the main difference between passion fruits and Hourglass is that for the majority of passion fruits, I always had a job. Mm-hmm. And I want to say this in a proper way. I believe if you don't have a job, it makes you more aggressive with your entrepreneurship, but I believe it also leaves you susceptible to really bad mistakes.
Yeah.
And so where with passion fruits, I had a job, I had for the most part had a little bit of security, etc. So I could be more measured in the decisions I was making. With Hourglass, I literally had 2 weeks to figure out how to find back my salary. And so I
Yeah.
didn't give the business time to adjust because I didn't have the time. My bills are due on at this time of the month. Also, I heard a lady, I don't know her name. I think she comes on Shark Tank. This if it's not Shark Tank, she's a very because I see her on TikTok a lot. She's white, she has blonde
Okay.
hair, and she said that, and it really spoke to me. She said that the problem is if you've always worked in a corporate environment, it's very hard for you to adjust to being an entrepreneur. So one of the things I did is I got an assistant. I didn't get an assistant just to have an assistant. I got an assistant because in the beginning, I had this corporate contract that they told me was going to be for 6 months. Plus, I had the housekeeping and whatever. And so I thought you need these things because how else are you going to operate efficiently? Because what I want is to operate efficiently, and I cannot be in two places at once. And
Right.
anyhow, if my day runs over by half an hour, then you know. But I now have somebody to pay in the first 2 months of my business.
Mhm.
That is a lot of pressure when you don't really have solid contracts yet.
Right.
But because you operate in a corporate mindset, these are the things that you've seen and you believe that you need it in some way to operate efficiently. Um, so
That's
even
true.
simple things like because you work in corporate, you expect that because you send an invoice with the date the 28th on it, that money is going to come on the 28th because your pay always shows up on the 25th.
Yeah.
No matter, so it's very hard. And I remember I had a conversation with Jeremy one day, and he said to me, "You must always expect that 40% of your money will always be on the road." And that was shocking for me because I was just like, "Wait, what? 40%?" Because in my mind, invoice due upon the 30th, like, I have the 25th, 28th back. So by the 31st, we're good. And that's not what was happening. The
Right.
7th, the 10th, the 50th. And I'm like, I don't understand. Even though I've worked in corporate and even though I know how accounting works. And so I was telling all of that story to say, because I didn't have a secondary income, now I have to be making these decisions to try and meet my bills. And now I'm doing
Right.
careless things that are not strategic, that are not business sense, that are solely aimed at paying these bills that I have due. And I think that was one of the things that has really hurt me in this business. That first, you know,
Yeah, I can absolutely relate. Jermaine shares a story about his first business that he started at 16, and how it was doing well. He shares that story often and openly. And I met him through that very business. And when we started dating and, we started getting serious with our dating, I started getting more and more involved with the business, going with him on jobs and all of that. And exactly what you just said is what happened to us, because I'm like, all right, we're making this money. We need to have a storefront now. It's important that we have this storefront, and not knowing what having a storefront really meant, a physical location, what it really meant. But we jumped in and we did it, and it ended up like bleeding money from us because we didn't have that plan. We weren't working with a strategy. We were just going with, oh, this is what we're supposed to do because that's what we see other businesses do, not knowing
right.
how it works on the back end.
The other difference I would, well, it's not even a difference. The And I think some entrepreneurs suffer with this. So a service business is different from a retail business.
Right.
In my, I don't want to say that there are risks that you can take in a retail business that you can't take in a service business, but that it's just a different business. However, both at times I suffered in not charging what I knew I should charge. Because in my mind, the bras were already expensive and I wanted people to buy them. And so I didn't know I could charge more. And it was one day, like somebody that is like a business manager said, none of your friends told you you should be charging more. And I'm like, no, because none of my friends would pay this much money for a bra. Who is paying $7,000 for that? So you can't charge for your friends or even how you would necessarily purchase. You have to, and I raised the price and nobody had a problem. The amount of money. So, and by that time, Passion Fruits was a year and a half in. So if you count up the amount of money that you would have left on the table. So the same thing with Hourglass, even in the corporate, even with the housekeeping, we should have charged more because maybe then that would have been a little bit more sustainable. And then even when we did the project management stuff, we should have charged more. But because you're so afraid that they're going to say no, and you have these bills that need to be paid and these obligations, you are willing to accept what will cover. And you cannot run a business off of what will cover. You cannot. And so, yeah, that's what I would say about Hourglass and how it started and the difference, because I'm not even sure which question I'm on right now.
But I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you raised it because it's such an important point, and it's something that a lot of us suffer from, in one way or another, whether it's service or retail. And we find too that even from a faith perspective, if you're doing anything that is faith based, then persons are also scared to charge because they're like, but we're doing this for God, so how can I charge? How should I even charge, kind of thing. So people struggle with charging what the thing is valued. You're providing a service, you're providing value, and you're adding value to the person's
People's
life.
lives, exactly. The other thing I would say too is, again, for people who work in corporate and are transitioning, and it depends on at what level you transition and what you do. So for example, for Hourglass, one of the things is because I work in marketing and branding is important to me. Like I was obsessed. We need a logo before we can do anything, and then I need to get this and I need to get that, and I spent all this money. Like I was on Fiverr every day because I could only afford Fiverr. But let me tell you, them little $20 there, it's add up. And I thought I had to have this and have that because you want to look professional. You want to present yourself as a actual professional. I'm not saying you don't need those things. I'm saying I wish all the money that I spent on Fiverr, I took and invested in an accountant who could explain things to me, so that when I do events for certain entities and there's this 3% tax that I've never heard about in my life, I don't know about it, and I wonder why is my check $60,000 short?
Yeah.
And I genuinely never knew about it. I didn't. Nobody told it to me because I've done stuff for other. I never did any other event that nobody said no 3% tax from. I don't know what you're talking about, and I just didn't know. I just didn't know. And there's a lot that you don't know. And sometimes those things you learn on the job, but because of the rush, I was so excited to get the contract because I got that contract July. We didn't have a job since May. So when you get to July, right? I remember I got the deposit for that event the day of the event. Like I was in the event checking my bank account and they sent the money and I literally just started to pay people. I pay my light bill. I literally was just like pay because there's people managing the event. What was I going to do? Turn it down? And But because of that, and I got paid a good amount of money, but in my mind, I just didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. And I literally lost over $70,000 from that event alone.
Wow.
So now, remember, you don't have any additional income. So you don't, if you're like me, max out my money early now. So I can't afford that $70,000 hit, but you have to take it, you know? So I would say, yes, the branding is important. Yes, the marketing is important, but it's okay if you start with a Gmail account. It's okay. It will be all right. And I speaking to myself, it will be all right. Take the money and find out about HR policies. Even if you're going to hire just promoters, take the money and pay a lawyer to show you even to the one template of a proper contract for you. I'm not saying that you don't have lawyer friends. I'm saying that spend the money elsewhere with things that you don't know how to do that can get you in trouble. Because to be very clear, you don't have your company's bankers, you don't have your clients' bankers, and you do not have their lawyers. Right? Places that have things called general counsel, you and them are not the same. You're not the same. They have people there, and I have lawyer friends who work for corporations. I'm not saying that's all they do, but you realize that these companies have lawyers just in case. Like they come to work, they work there. So whereas you contact your lawyer in the event of, these people are at work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're there every day.
Absolutely.
And so you have to make sure that and they can fight in a way that you may not be able to. So you have to make sure that you go in with the best opportunity to protect yourself.
Right.
And
that is when you're going into business in a corporate sense, in a corporate setting, or to go into business with corporations, or are you saying that generally speaking,
I'm saying generally speaking, because you know what will happen? You'll have private clients that have a lot of money. So the thing with clients that have a lot of money, they are used to being able to getting what they want, and they're used to being able to not having to, it's not break the rules. But the thing with money is that money grants you time, money grants you access. That's just a fact of money. It allows you to move ahead and move at a pace that other people may not be able to. So let's say you need life-changing surgery. If you have the money today, you can go surgery tomorrow. That's not anything illegal or unethical. It is just a fact. You can pay a private doctor. He can find a private surgery. You don't even have to go to a regular hospital. If you do not have the money, then you have to wait till you have the money. Then you have to schedule the date. You don't have the date available at the time. You may not even have the money to go to a private hospital. Therefore, you need to go to a public hospital. And what somebody can do in a day, you may take a year. You understand?
Right.
So now with that, if the kind of entrepreneur that most people are, you want to be able to service your customers quickly and well. Until you kind of adopt that attitude. Yes, you can do it, and this, that. But then, in doing so, you are not as careful as you should be. And those same conversations where it's not a problem, it becomes a problem. And so you need to be very clear. Even things like what the ask, you have to be very clear of the ask. You have to be very clear of the objective. So one day, my I can be very honest about it. My lawyer looked at one of my contracts and she's like, "Who did this?" Like, she said, "But this leaves you." Well, she was just like, "This is not the way." She's like, "You need a good whereas."
What I mean.
And she was just like, yes, because whereas, and you might just be starting out and you have a contract that says, "Oh, my deposit is non-refundable," and you think that that is the most signed, sealed, delivered thing ever. And no, that's not necessarily the case. So if I was to go back, I would spend the time to educate myself on things that I don't know.
Right.
I don't, and I don't understand, and I'm not skilled in. I'm not skilled in law. I'm not skilled in taxation. I'm not skilled in, I don't know, knitting. It's not skilled. It's not my.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
So
just, it's important that you apply it to everything, even if you're going to business with your friends. It might seem a little strange to give your friend this airtight contract with whereas. Give your friend a contract.
with
Give them.
whereas. Yeah.
Because no man, the whereas mash me up. I'm like, whereas?
But so what I'm hearing from what you're saying is understand what you are doing.
Yeah.
What is your value proposition? What are you doing and what you're not doing? What is it that is in your scope and in your realm? Don't succumb to the temptation to try and be everything for everybody and oh yeah man I can do it. Yeah man I
And
can
even
get
if
it.
and even if you can do it, because sometimes it's not that you can't do it, but you have to set parameters. Clients need boundaries. Client uh, Clients need boundaries. I'm not saying that you can't go above and beyond. I'm not saying that you can't exceed expectations, but clients need boundaries.
Right.
Clients need boundaries.
So set the expectation
Yes, and
set
make
it
sure
up
that
front.
everybody you understand that what you are providing is what they are getting, and they understand that what they're getting is what they have asked for. Because I
Correct.
promise you, that is an easily misread conversation, even with contracts. The perception can be different.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something with project management. That's why we have a scope, a whole scope document. And if you're changing something, it has to be in writing
Yeah,
because the understanding has to be clear on both sides. Otherwise, you'll end up with someone being disappointed or someone being upset.
yeah,
So it's important for us to set the scope, set the boundary. What are you providing? When are you providing it by? How much does it cost? What condition, under what conditions would there be a change of cost or a change of timeline, etc.
right.
You know,
And also, when you have this conversation, Renee, people think that it's about big changes. So you ask me to build a 3 bedroom house, and now you want a 4 bedroom house. No, that is a big change that anybody can see from a mile away. It's
right.
little things like after you've changed to the 4 bedroom house, and everybody has that email and everybody understands where we've all agreed on the gray and white carpet. But we get to the store and there's no gray and white carpet, or by chance your client messages you and says, "Do they have anything blue?" And you go, "Yeah." So now they're messaging you on your phone, and you go, "Yeah." And then you might go, "Please confirm that you want the blue carpet," and they go, "Yeah." It may seem, even if it doesn't cost more or less. Let's say the blue carpet and the gray carpet cost the same.
Hmm.
I promise you that decision is just as big as moving from a 3 bedroom to a 4 bedroom. WhatsApp is not an easy thing to litigate because it is a constant conversation. So as simple as it seems, and because it's easy, it's quick, it's efficient, you want to move fast. Slow down. Just slow down. Just slow down. Make sure you have those emails for even the smallest, slightest, simplest things that don't seem like they matter right now.
We get that. We get that. Have it in writing in a
But
form
this
that you
and
can
WhatsApp is,
follow.
I want to be clear that WhatsApp is not in writing. So like the screenshots that you take to prove that your man are gay bun, it's not the same. It's not the same. I promise you it doesn't have the same effect. It's not the same.
Yeah, yeah, it's not the same as an email.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
so one of the things that we advocate for here is learning, and you've been talking about it, spending the time to or spending the time and the money to get educated in the areas that you would have had gaps, or to get the support in those areas, getting a good lawyer, getting a good accountant, etc. So what on your journey, what other pursuits did you find that were helpful? You would have mentioned your marketing background, and being able to apply that to your entrepreneurship journey, to apply that to your business, what else were you able to incorporate into your business?
So I think my marketing background, my commercial background, because you have to ask those probing questions because clients don't know what they want. They know the outcome that they have in their mind, but sometimes clients don't see the steps.
And that's why they call
Understand?
you, because you're the professional,
There's
right?
a lot of steps. And so you have to show them what these steps are. So it's not necessarily budget that's the issue, but sometimes it's the steps. So you want to bring a product to market. These are all the things that you need to do to bring a product to market. You can't miss any of these steps. Do they know? It's kind of like, how many stores would you like to sell it in? What kind of stores? Where are these stores? But where is your market? But how do you sell? By cases? Do you split the case? Even a simple question like, you split the case?
Yeah.
Because those things are questions that need to be answered. So I think my commercial background, my marketing background, and I genuinely think just the talent that I have to pull things together, even though things are falling apart. Like, is that a fire? Is that really a fire in the event? Because literally that has happened. Like, my assistant walked up to me, she's like, a pipe burst. I was like, huh? And then I looked on the ground and there was just water. And I was like, interesting. And she goes, nobody knows where the pipe or the lock off is. Fantastic. Awesome. This happened in the night. Cool. And then after, literally, as soon as we turned off the pipe, is that something on fire? Like somebody hit over a candle?
Wow. Wow.
But nobody knew. Nobody really knew.
Right. Because your client doesn't need to know, right? Again, that's
Yeah.
why they
I
hired
mean,
you.
it's just like, and to be honest, by the time we got to the fire, I was like, this event ends in 15 minutes. So it's going to burn.
So you got it. You got it.
I was just like, yeah, man, this can work. People are leaving. Okay, we can burn now.
Okay. Okay. So what about the like formal education? Was there any addition for you there? Because I know sometimes, again, we're kind of cultured to believe that we have to go to school to learn the thing before we can do, before we can have a business, or before we can be successful in a particular area. Is while I believe that formal education is definitely helpful, I also think that it can be done on the go, like during the journey. But I wanted to hear from your perspective. Was formal education integral? Do you think it's something that you should have done before you started, or was it integrated along your journey? Tell us a little bit about that.
Um, just by the nature of how my life went, formal education was a little separate because I just went. I kind of went to school at 18 and did my master's right after that. And I will say though that I think for entrepreneurship, I think it's good to go to do a business class or go to business school, etc. But I think with entrepreneurship, you have to have that hybrid of other entrepreneurs and not necessarily other entrepreneurs, how, of other people who understand how business works.
Mhm.
They don't have to be an entrepreneur, but they have to understand how business works. So, in one of my old jobs, this is a regular 9 to 5 job. We were doing, I always use reference this, we were doing a promotion at a supermarket. And the promoter, in fact, it wasn't even me, I think it was me and my friends have similar jobs. But if it wasn't my company, it was my friend's company. They were doing a promotion, and the promoter genuinely thought that because they were giving away the stuff for free to the customers, that she could take the products that were left. It
Mhm.
was a genuine, she wasn't trying to steal, etc. And when they told her she couldn't, she's like, why? But you're giving it away to everybody else. So you look mean as a company. She can't understand why, but to the outside person, it looks like you're just giving away things for free. She wouldn't know that there is a cost to the company to do that. That the company has worked out how will we pay back for this. It's not free. It must come back as revenue.
Right.
So people that don't understand business and don't understand those business decisions, you may want to take the same approach that you see other businesses take. Oh, 50% off. Cool. How are you going to make back that 50%? Because you have to make it back. The customer has to come back in something. Is it going to come back in volume? Is it something where the customer is buying a service and so they need to stay with you for 6 months to pay back for the discount that you've given them? It's nothing is free. If you start your business in your home and you're baking cookies, you can't say that you would have paid JPS anyway. No, that is a cost to your business. I don't care if you divide your light bill in half and attribute it. You have to have it as a line item. So you have to understand how business works, how businesses succeed, what businesses go through. Whether you speak to a person that's an entrepreneur, whether you speak to somebody who, so I have people who aren't entrepreneurs, but I have good banker friends because I know I don't understand, who help me when I go, should I take this business loan? And they're like, what is the interest rate? And I tell them and they work it out. And what they've worked out and what I've worked out is completely different. Because in your mind, you're working out the monthly payback and they're working out the long-term effects to you. So you have to understand how business works, or have people around you who know how business works while you continue to educate yourself in this subject matter. So always grow, always learn, always train. So you have to have, to answer, I think you have to have the hybrid. You have to have the hybrid.
Completely agree.
Always upskill, but always have people around you who can help guide you.
I agree. So I just want to take a moment here to encourage our audience to type your questions for Shani in the chat if you have any questions. I see we have one question that I'm going to just put on screen for you now, Shani, because it comes right on the tail of what you are asking here. Do you recommend having a mentor?
I think I recommend having a So I'm not big on labels. That's why you see me pausing. I recommend having a variety of people around you. So for example, if I use so Jermaine and Renee are married. My conversation with Renee about business is completely different than my conversations with Jermaine about business. I will speak to Renee more about, and actually, it may be about the same challenges, but how we relate is different. So Renee might relate more to me on a emotional level, or a mental level, or a psychological level. And then when I'm speaking to Jermaine, it's like, okay, these are the strategic things that you need to do X, Y, Z. So it's important that, because you can have a mentor, but the mentor may not give you all the things that you need to push ahead. Yeah. So for example, my father isn't my mentor, but I go to my father a lot because my father has been in business for 50 years. So he understands the grueling stretch of it. So when I feel like I can't continue, when I feel like I'm not gonna make it, like and I don't cry on my father like that, because my father is very real daddy's girl vibe. So to cry on him is a serious thing. And I remember one day I just bawled because I just never know what to do. Like in the car, I just don't know what to do. My mother now has been a banker for many years. So when I go to her, it's more to talk. Maybe she has some little financial snippets or something. Or if I go to my friend who is a banker, and she's like, all right, tell me, how are you charging? How are you whatever? Have you tried going to, so when Hourglass used to do the housekeeping, have you tried going to realtors? Because if you can get in before they give over the keys, which I just genuinely never thought about, because she's looking at now areas of revenue that you can make, Yeah. My father is looking at helping me to sustain. So I would recommend having several people around you who can assist you in the areas that they can assist you in. So because your mentor is not necessarily going to be able to have everything that you need to keep your business going. But you have to have somebody who, like I was in therapy because I couldn't I needed somewhere that I could let out my frustrations in a way that I thought I could let, as I didn't have to feel like I have to be positive at the end of it. I didn't feel like I had to present it in a certain way to not look like I was complaining. Like every Monday morning, I knew I had the space that I could go and be like, this is a foolishness. How could the Lord ask me to do this? You know, this doesn't make any sense. It's not me to cut myself and start a business. I am doing this out of obedience. And look at, I needed a space that I could do that. So it's important that you have the different people to answer your question, Chloe, have different people in the different spaces.
Awesome. And totally 100% agree, because no one person will be able to 100% provide for the needs that you'll have. So you have to have more than one. And if you want to call them a mentor, that's fine. But
Exactly.
you're gonna need more than one for the different
One
areas.
person. You're definitely going to need more than one person in more than one area. Um,
Yeah. So
uh,
here's the next question for you. Jamie's asking, what do you give more weight to, your wins or your losses? And how do you recommend embracing the lessons you've learned?
you know, I give weight probably to the losses. Um, there's a guy. So if you think about me, I like sports. I like sports and I like people who are in sports because I think sports is a very, it's not that it's awful. Sports is one of those things that your losses are public. If I don't tell you that I am bankrupt, for the most part, you may not know, or you're not going to know until like I'm genuinely bankrupt and on the street. With sports, you could be losing 7-1 and you have to still play. And I always find that with athletes, like it must be so difficult to just, you can't even stop. May I tell you, me I play ball with you and we reach 2-1, I'm done right so, Me not have, I know me, I gotta be the one. Well, with the 7 love, with 60 seconds remaining, I'm still gonna try score the goal. Here comes Shani in the 96th minute. No, Shani been over there having a juice. But people in sports have to push, and they're similar to people in business. You have to continue because a lot of times you have no option. And there's a sporting coach. He said that every time he's lost, he stayed down for a minute. He said because if he popped back up, he wouldn't have learned the lesson. And one of the things that this past year has taught me is that sometimes you have to stay down and understand where did things go so wrong. Because when you get used to winning, you don't realize how dangerous you are sometimes with, or careless sometimes you are with your business, with your livelihood, with your family, because it always work out.
Yeah.
It always work out. And while losing is hurtful and expensive and painful and expensive, it's just expensive. The truth is, you've been losing for a minute, but in a business, in a corporation, you just don't see it. You make a mistake and then give you more budget, or then it kind of comes up in the meeting and oh well, this happened, and but you don't really know. There are lots of businesses that they're in a group and they have to borrow from this company to pay. You just know that your pay reach on the 25th. You have no idea what your accounts department and your CFO is going through to make sure,
Right.
and so the losses are important because you have to slow down and understand what went wrong. And then, in terms of recommending embracing the lessons learned, lessons are hard. They're hard because sometimes it's unfair. Sometimes some of the things that happen to you in business are unfair. They are dishonest. Sometimes it's dishonest. Sometimes you're taken advantage of. But like I said, without them, you probably wouldn't have realized how how dangerous a game you were playing in the first place. And you have to look at it that you are better for it having happened in the long run. And it's very hard to embrace it. But you have to look at it that maybe if I am genuinely speaking from personal experience, that maybe if this awful thing didn't happen, maybe if this didn't crash and burn the way it did, I would have probably continued thinking that this is a way to conduct business, this is a way to go ahead, and then had an even bigger, more dramatic loss. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you don't celebrate your wins. It doesn't mean that you're not excitable about your wins, but everybody takes a loss. Everybody takes a loss. And I think the only people that really live that out are business people and sports people, because they lose often. A lot of business people will tell you they're losing more than they're winning. I've worked in places where you launch a campaign and the first 6-8 months it's not working. But it's just that they have the finances to continue and they have the strategy to continue, so they can continue. You just starting a business may not be able to see failure through straight for 8 months, you know.
Right.
But you're going to take a loss. You're going to take some big losses. Every business does. Like, people don't know, a lot of people don't know Virgin Atlantic came up with brides, Virgin Brides. It didn't work. And didn't they close down Virgin Atlantic the other day? There were two businesses. The brides one never worked, and there's another one.
Yeah.
But because it's such a big global company, you don't remember it.
It goes under the radar, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's such a powerful statement, because one of the things we do in project management, you have a whole lessons learned log, because as you're going, you're learning, and at the end of the day, you might have the product, or what it is that you were supposed to produce. It's there, but there's so much that you still would have learned on the journey that you need to remember for the next one.
Yeah.
So the lessons and the losses are vital in improving for the next thing that you pursue. So we
Yes.
have a couple more questions
Oh, wow, there are more
for you,
questions.
Chloe. Yes, Chloe is asking if you believe in dressing for the job that you want,
Of course.
client that you want.
Yes. I believe in dressing for the client. All right. First of all, I believe in dressing how you are for yourself. So I remember I used to share an office space with my friend that had an office, and their office is very laid back, and I'm not generally laid back. And for Elizabeth, I didn't want to seem like, I'm just always overdressed, and so I would try and adapt it, but I'm really not that girl. So may I dress up and go which family you forgot. That being said, if you're going to a site visit, you can wear jeans and, sneakers and get a little branded shirt so you look professional. But I absolutely believe there's a place that I've worked for that says dress for the day you're going to have. So if you know you're going to a board meeting or you're going to a very corporate place, then you dress up. If you know you're going to a farm, then you dress accordingly.
Right.
Dress for the day that you know you're going to have. But your own self must always exude that professionalism.
Agreed. All right. So the last question is from Alana. Last one I'm seeing anyway. I don't know if I missed something. But the last one I'm seeing is from Alana, which is actually my last question to you as well. And that is, what are the main lessons or the main takeaways that you'd want to give to a young entrepreneur, or even current entrepreneurs, right now in this moment? What is the advice that you would want to leave with them as they're watching this stream and learning from your own experiences?
All right. So the first thing is, don't be ashamed if it didn't work out. Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed if you have to go back to work, as in take back a 9 to 5 because it didn't work. Do not stay in the business and make really bad decisions out of pride because you don't want to look like you're failing. It's important that you not do that. The other thing is, as long as you can, in any way that you can, stick to it. So one day I had a conversation with my father and I said, "So, Daddy, you didn't feel like how come you stayed? Like, how come you never go back to work? How come you never?" And he said, I said, "You never feel discouraged?" And he said, "No, because," so he went to he didn't he had a mentor really, but the mentor worked in the business that he worked in and gave him a little space in his office. And he said, "Mr. Symes always encouraged me." And so I just always, even though things were tough, I felt like I could keep going. And if you really want to be a business person, maybe, and my other friend, her father is a businessman, and he said he tried lots of businesses before he found one that he loved and one that worked.
Yes.
And a lot of the business people that you see probably have tried other businesses and it not worked, and they tried one and it does work. But maybe you only know a few people that they tried the one business the one time and it kick off, and you just feel like that should be your story. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't be a business person. It just means that you haven't found that one thing yet that worked. And again, a lot of businesses that you see have been at the brink of absolute failure and you don't know, you know? And so I would say, if you believe that this is what you want to do, if you believe that this is what you can do, find a way to stick to it. If find a way to revamp, find a way to pivot and keep going.
Amen.
That's it.
So thank you so much for that, Shani. I think you're frozen at the moment, but that is okay. We're hearing you, and I believe you're hearing us.
I'm still
But
frozen.
yes, you are. But
Wow.
it's okay. It's okay. I will say that in the comments here, there's a call for a book from you based on what you have learned. So can give some thought to that too. But as we are wrapping up now, I just wanted to say again to Shani, thank you so much for being so open and so willing to share your story. Um, I know that it has provided value. The audience is calling for a part two, so we'll see how that works out. If there's more for you to share or what more they would like you to share, let us know what you want to hear from Shani. What else would you want her to share from her experience, and we'll try to get her back to continue sharing her story. And just in closing, I want to remind those who are watching, those who are aspiring entrepreneurs or currently entrepreneurs, or you are thinking about it but you're not really sure, there is an opportunity for you. There's an opportunity for you. Take the time to explore what that opportunity may be. What is the service? What is the product that you are inspired to provide? Continue pushing, continue pushing through. Be bold in pursuing your business. Get the advice and the tips and the mentorship and the assistance that you need, the support that you need. Take the time to learn and close as many gaps in your knowledge as you can. You rely on the persons around you who have the strengths in the areas that you are weak. Act on your own experience. The things that have been challenging for you are likely challenging for other people. Maybe that is your business opportunity, but understand why you're doing what you're doing, and continue, as Shani said, pressing pressing on. It will not always be easy. It will not always be wins and glamour. You will have losses, but through the losses you learn the lessons that build you up and enable you to have a strong finish and a strong business. So with that, we say thank you again so much for joining us this evening, and we will see you in the next one.